Okay, so welcome to this month's October mountain bike advocacy call. Appreciate everybody that's joining us on the call. And again, we're going to post this on our blog site after we get it recorded and the files converted over. But today's call is with CAMBA, the Chewaman Area Mountain Bike Association. And we're going to be talking about fundraising and their big fundraiser that they held not too long ago. But before we get to that, I just want to give you a little bit of updates here. Our bike summit is coming up in Appleton. It's this coming Friday, and the first Friday in November, November 6th. You can go to our website, wisconsinbikefed.org, and learn more about that, or feel free to contact any of our offices, or if you have my email, feel free to ask me any questions there. But most of the information is on our website. There is going to be a full day of mountain bike sessions this year, so really great that and super exciting that that's going to be happening for the first time. Usually we've typically only offered 1 or 2 sessions at our summit, so a full day. We're going to have a Wisconsin Mountain Bike Master Plan working session as the first session. The DNR, the state, will be there talking about some of their master planning and how they work mountain biking in and access into their master planning. So on state lands, incorporating bike parks and single track into a master plan. We're going to have IMBA Ride Center. There's going to be a panel which will consist of CAMBA, Wausau, the Seawalk folks. Duluth will be up there, and COGS, and also Marquette, Michigan. So that's going to be exciting. And then Minooka Park here in Waukesha, one of the county parks folks is going to be giving a session on tees to trails. A proposed golf course becomes a mountain bike trail system. So that was kind of interesting. And then, yeah, we'll have many other interesting topics that are outside the mountain bike realm. But on that note, let's get started. Introduce myself. My name is Matt Gissibl, the resident dirt tester here at the Wisconsin Bicycle Federation. And on the call today is Alison Slavek of CAMBA, and I believe Ron Bergen is also going to be joining us here. If you could, Allison, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit how it relates to mountain biking, if there's much there, and then maybe we can get on with the question and answers.
Yeah, okay. My last name is Slavek. I'm Alison Slavek. I live in Cable. I've been here about 25 years, and I say to people often, I just went to my high school reunion, and I told people I have become a mountain biking maniac, and I'm fortunate to live in one of the mountain biking meccas of Wisconsin, the CAMBA trail system. And I'm a volunteer for CAMBA and have been for a number of years, a little bit on the trails, and I'm, excuse me, the chairperson of our program and events committee. So I lead the charge in developing programs for the public, and this past summer, our first major and annual fundraising event, which we'll talk about today. Like everyone else involved in our organization, most people, I have a day job, I guess. I'm a consultant and freelancer to nonprofit organizations, especially museums, all around the country. So that has afforded me the flexibility to be able to help CAMBA with our programs and events.
Hey, Matt, if I could interject, it's Ron Bergen. So as Allison mentioned, she's a volunteer for us, and she was recruited to help us put this event together, partly based on her passion and involvement with the CAMBA trails, but obviously she has some very inline experience. For many years, she was the executive director for the Cable Natural History Museum right here in Cable, and had great success as their executive director, and particularly in fundraising. And the museum put on an annual benefit that was, I assume, one of their larger, if not their largest, fundraiser of the year. And so her experience in that arena came in hugely valuable for us as we stepped into these waters for the first time.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
I could add a little background and then let Allison take the rest of it, because she's really got the nuts and bolts of it. But you know, this concept came up a number of years ago. It didn't originate with us. We essentially stole the idea from the COGS group in the Duluth Superior area and started getting their mailings a number of years ago. Didn't really act on it at all at the time. It was also a subject at the IMBA Regional Summit a few years ago when it was held here in Cable, and the folks from COGS did a really good presentation. So seeds were planted back then, and our president, Steve Morales, this was sort of a pet idea of his too that we wanted to see happen. And once we got our events and programming committee in action, that's kind of where it started and took off. So big kudos to Allison for her work on all of this. It's not something that I, as the executive director, or any of our board members could have done on our own. So she took the ball and ran with it, and I'll basically let her speak to the rest of it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. Do you have some?
Let me just delve into that. I was just going to add that, like Ron said, this wasn't my initial thought either. Was that, I kind of stole the idea from you guys, and I know COGS. I know we have a gala as well, a fundraising event, but never did I really put two and two together to think that it could be so successful, wildly successful on a local level. And so that's kind of what I hope comes out of this whole conversation, is that other people, other clubs start to think about, mountain bike clubs start to think about, can we host something like this in our regions? And, obviously maybe on, maybe on a success level, it'll be a little bit different, or it may not work out or play out exactly the same. But, I just think it's a proof here that it's possible. So that's, I think that's a great thing. But so whose idea was this? And then how did you come up with it? I guess we kind of answered that with COGS, but maybe we could just kind of say how. So they got you involved because you, Allison, kind of spearhead.
They knew I could do it, and because I had worked with the museum and running such an event or a similar event for 15 years. And I would say Steve Morales, the Canberra board president, was a real advocate for trying this. We were seeing what other groups were doing, and I will give a shout out to Pam Schmidt at the COGS group in Duluth. She was helpful in talking through their event with me, and helped generate some ideas for what we might try. And I had also gone to the Bike Summit and the Ceres Gala, which also I think had some influence on some of the things we did. So all of that was helpful, talking with others. And then from there, we put together a committee to work on the event. And one of the things you had asked in advance, Matt, was, what were some of the obstacles? I don't think we really had any. And I had to dig a little deep to even think of what an obstacle might be for us. And if anything, it was getting everybody together for meetings. We all have jobs, and it was tough sometimes to find a time slot where we could all get together. And it is a considerable time investment to do something at the level that we hope to do. And as you said, we were really successful. We raised a little more than $26,000. And there were lots of reasons for the success of the event, beginning with the good core of volunteers that we had together. We had lots of other things going for us. We had a fantastic site, a barn that was already set up for events. And the owners of the barn are mountain bikers. So they were glad to donate this site. It already had a bar in place. It had a great stage for a band. It could accommodate the number of people we wanted to attract. And we had hoped to get 125 people, and we were up to 220, and we had to turn people away just because the site could not accommodate enough people. Let's see, do you want to ask a question?
Well,
or
you
do
know,
you
I,
want me to just
I,
explain?
I kind of want to just delve into some of the details because, having worked the gala so many years, I kind of see some of the I'm not, they're definitely not hurdles, but they're definitely more the time consuming things. And I'm just curious how you guys
Mhm.
dealt with them. Like, did you have a silent and a live auction?
We did. Um, we had both. Um, Let me back up a little. We initially we worked hard to bring in sponsors for the event, and we got a late start on that, really, for whatever reason. But we did end up bringing in, maybe $7,500 in sponsorships, as well as some smaller contributions from local businesses. So those went anywhere from $100 to $5,000. And through those sponsorships, we were able to cover just about all of our expenses. I think just about everything. Um, we diversified the way we could raise money from this event. We charged $40 for tickets. Um, we had, and that included a great meal. That included 2 drinks and dinner. Um, and after that, it was a cash bar. So the cash bar helped boost our income, and we also had tip jars, and that contributed. Um, we had several raffles going on throughout the event, people roaming through the crowd selling tickets, and that boosted our income. And then we had the silent auction and the live auction, and we had about 100 silent auction items and about 5 live auction items, some bigger ticket things,
Yeah.
including a condo in Mexico, a couple dinners, some Adirondack chairs, which did phenomenally well because they had the Campbell logo. Help me, what's the word for that, Ron?
Laser engraved.
Laser engraved on the chair, the map of the trail system in our logo. And we had a volunteer professional auctioneer who did a fantastic job of driving up the prices on the items.
Wow, you guys hit this one
Yeah,
out of the park.
we did. We did. It was great. And, I can't say enough about all the volunteers we had involved. We also were lucky in that we had a fantastic caterer who provided a barbecue. And this was high quality meal. And he donated all of his time, the staff and his own time. He is a mountain biker and has a cabin in the area and was willing to contribute that to us. And some other little things added up. Donated tablecloths to us. Um, One thing that was really important to me was that we minimized the waste that we generated from the event. So we used real dishes, which we rented from the caterer. Um, we tried to get recycling in place at the event for so successful with that this year, but now I think I have a better vision of how we can handle that. So we were able to keep down our waste, and it really contributed to the classiness of the event.
Yeah, so give us an idea of what the atmosphere is like, because what I'm imagining is, and I would have loved to have been there, is, it's just, mountain bikers gathered and they were kind of sharing their war stories and having
Um,
fun and bidding up stuff.
well, yeah, one of our goals was to get people besides mountain bikers at the event, and I think we were pretty successful at that. Um, a lot of people there who I didn't know, and Ron, you probably felt that way too. And I mean, we know a lot of bikers in this area, but I think one thing we had going for us is that the biking community, the barn was filled beyond capacity, and we were on the second level of the barn where the hay would typically be stored, and there silo, a round silo, but it ended partway up to the ceiling. So we were able to put the band on top of the silo, which was really cool. And we had decorated the barn beautifully with lighting, and we had banners from our sponsors as well as Canva photos and banners. It just looked great. And we had nights. It was pretty crowded. We had set up the silent auction around the perimeter of the dining area, and the tables for eating were in the middle. Fortunately, some people felt comfortable staying down, additional seating, and the bar was down there. And also the buffet line was set up down there. Let's see.
You know.
Oh yeah, yes. Our local microbrewery donated beer, which was a really great thing. So they dropped off their beer wagon, and we had that set up right outside the door of the barn. People could go up and get their beer, and then we had another bar inside where people could get wine and soft drinks.
Okay. Is that the Angry Minnow then, or?
I'm sorry, what?
The Angry Minnow, or?
Angry Minnow, yep, that is correct. Yeah. So we had, let's see, what else? We did a little differently than you might typically expect or know of. If you're familiar with how the Bike Fed does it at the Ceres Gala, you walk up to the item and you write down your name or your number with the amount of your bid. We did something called a secret silent auction. Everyone received items, and on that card you wrote your name and then what your bid was for whatever items you were bidding on. So no one else knew what your bid was, and this is a way to make more money. An example might be if something has a value of $100 and you're starting with a $50 bid, people might inch up the bids in, say, $2 or $5 increments. If you don't know what anyone else is bidding, the tendency is to bid a little higher if you really want that item. So I don't have the statement here in front of me, Ron, to say how much we made from the auction, but we did very well.
The auction alone, I think, was about 16,000.
The silent auction.
Yeah, I have that here somewhere. I'll dig it up.
Yeah. Okay. And then the live auction did very well too. Let's see. Nothing really went wrong that night, although there was a big storm in the forecast, and people freaked out a little bit about that. And so a lot of people left earlier than we would have liked. So we had to scramble at the end to really be ready to check people out of the auction. You know, they wanted to find out if they'd won their items, and we weren't prepared for that mad rush at the end, as people thought, oh, we got to get out of here before it, this storm hits. People said, oh, we left our windows open or whatever. And our parking area was a short walk to the barn, and by then it was dark. So, in retrospect, we should have had some lighting out there, or made some flashlights available or something like that. Not a big deal, but it people did go home a little earlier. We had planned to have a campfire with s'mores. We had our local grocery store donate everything we needed for s'mores. One of the Campbell board members donated some scotch, and we had little shot glasses. So we ate the chocolate and had the scotch indoors when it started to rain. Although the rain didn't really happen until about 10:30. So people freaked out a little unnecessarily, I think.
Yeah. So Allison, we have about 10 more minutes. Let me
Okay.
I want to leave about 5 minutes for questions, but let me just ask you two last questions maybe. One, what did you use, like Square card, or how did you work transaction?
For the checkout. Yeah, it was something like that. I turned that over to somebody.
PayPal.
What's that?
Go ahead.
It was the PayPal card reader.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had some kind of device there. Okay, great. Yeah.
I think it was an iPad, and so people could use a credit card. That was pretty important to have that in place.
Yeah, because not everybody has cash or has a check in hand. Credit card, exactly. Especially for a bigger transaction. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say a couple other things. Canva is lucky because we have the infrastructure in place. We have a paid director who, was infinitely helpful in all kinds of ways. We had a place to store stuff in advance. We had someone to be an overall coordinator for the event, me. And all of that seems pretty important to have in place. Um, I think I would say we probably mostly had fun with it.
So last two questions. Any suggestions for a local club that is thinking about doing something like this? And the last question will be maybe for you or Ron, but what are you going to do with the money?
Yeah. I think anybody could do this. I would say just jump right in and do it. In talking with Pam up at the COGS group, they made their first year, I think they made less than $8,000. And now they are up in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. So you can start smaller. I would be
I'm
glad
sorry,
to.
I heard they do 6 figures now.
They do. They're way up there.
Yeah.
That includes some major sponsorship.
Yeah, a lot of theirs is I think half of theirs is sponsorship,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. And they charge, I think, $100, and theirs is a different kind of thing. They do more of a formal dinner, and which is great. I mean, you can take it in a lot of different directions.
But I agree. I think anybody could do it. So, would you offer up if anybody had any questions? I would offer up anyone here at the Bike Fed, including myself, that might be able to help with some answers, or if I don't have the answer, somebody here that's more intricate into the gala. But if somebody might want to just ask a question or two at a later point, but.
So to your question, Matt, about what do we do with the money? Well, that's an easy one. We're going to spend it, obviously, but we have a pretty ambitious trail development and maintenance program, and we've been pretty fortunate to mostly fund that through some of the big events that donate proceeds and other traditional events. But I think the vast majority of the funds from an event like this will go toward the trails. Some operational things that we need that we are now going to be quite comfortable with in purchasing. We may have, and we haven't made any decisions yet, but look at enhancing our equipment fleet of tools and larger mechanized equipment that we might want to purchase in the future. All that remains to be determined, but it definitely puts us in a good position going into the next season, knowing that our budgets will more or less be covered. And it's also, like in any operation or business, it's good to have a cash reserve that you can fall back on if you have unforeseen expenses or emergencies or other issues like that. So all of those things. Another quick aside is a question about the venue and the place and how it was set up and what it looked like. Is we have a pretty good slideshow that one of our volunteers put together and posted somewhere on Facebook. I can dig that link out, Matt, and forward that to you. It's well worth taking a look because the venue is so unique, and it's this historic dairy barn, rustic but quite perfect for this type of event, and people really enjoyed it. And as Allison pointed out, the time was really right for an event like this, as it was just the hottest ticket in town. We had people trying to work every angle they could to get in, and it just was the most ridiculous thing I'd never expected. We budgeted early on maybe making $10,000 on this. We would have been happy. So far exceeded our expectations. So it was just a first time real positive experience.
Mm-hmm. If anybody out there is interested, I'd be glad to talk or email with you individually too, if you needed additional input or ideas. And you could email me maybe to initiate that. And I have a very easy email address, Allison with 2 L's at checknet.net, and checknet is CHEQNET.net.
Okay, guys. Well, great stuff. Let me just turn it over, but I will add just one thing, and that is, whenever we do the gala, I think we've really hit home runs when we've had a great venue. Now that we've kind of moved it around a little bit, we can kind of see what's working and maybe what places are better than others. And then also having maybe a keynote or some marquee person or some way to have something unique and different about it. But I think Boogie in the Barn, I don't think you can get any better than that. So let's open it up to any questions. So.
Okay. We did have. Go ahead.
This is Janet Seawalk down in Wausau. 3 quick questions. Number 1, did you have any costs affiliated with the silent auction? Number 2, I'm kind of what your investment was in for the band. And then did you do any other advertising besides Facebook in your email distribution list?
Yep. Well, I'll take the first one, Ron. Silent auction, we had small expense. I did all the graphic layout for the auction cards, but we bought some little wire frames that would hold that card upright. With such a crowd, it's easier to for people to look at the information if they don't have to lean over it. So it was standing up, and those were, it's picture how you might see a CD displayed in a record store. It was a stand like that, just a little wire frame. And those were 75 cents each. And then we had the information itself printed by a local printer on a heavier stock. And that was not a very large expense. The band, I can't remember what that was. And what was the third? Oh, go ahead.
The cost of the band was $1,200, and it was a 4-piece group out of the Twin Cities. 2 at least members of the band were avid mountain bikers and come here all the time, so they know the trails. So they had that connection, but it was probably one of the larger. Pardon? The other question was our promotion. We did a bulk mailing from some lists that we assembled, and otherwise that really was about it. It was otherwise mostly social media.
We had some posters too, and we used a fantastic graphic designer who put together really attractive invitation and poster. And then one thing we did, we had a variation of that poster developed because it was so cool. It had the barn on it. We had those posters framed and with barnwood, and we gave those to our sponsors and the owner of the barn and the caterer to thank them for their support. So we probably mailed out about 1,000 invitations. And then we used social media, and word of mouth, I think, was really helpful among the biking community here.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome. Was there another question? I didn't hear.
I don't know. Anyone else with a question? Well, I'm guessing you guys are already talking about 2016. I'm just going to be curious to see where you guys go with this. If you raise your prices or get a new barn or what you're going to do.
Yeah. One of our goals was to make it affordable to people. And I feel like $40 was a great price. People got a wonderful meal and a lot of other perks in exchange, a couple drinks and a really fun time. We haven't talked about it, but I doubt if we would raise the price.
Did you cover the price or what it cost you for the meal?
Did we cover the cost of the meal?
No. What I mean is, did you cover earlier in the discussion how much the meal cost you per plate, sort of thing?
Oh yeah. Boy. It was well under $10. I would say primarily because the caterer donated the service fee. I think we paid the caterer maybe $2,200. Does that sound right, Ron? But that included the rental of the dishes.
Yeah, I have $1,800 roughly for the food.
Yeah, for 220 people.
Okay.
And that was his cost, though, not the, I don't know.
What did you choose? Did you just do the standard chicken, stuffed chicken, or something like that, or was there?
Yeah, what was the food?
Was it a buffet sort of thing? Or?
It was a buffet, and we used a caterer who I mentioned earlier is a mountain biker, and he owns a business called the Divine Swan, and they can do something like 10 events a weekend. It's quite a large company. So we had a full roasted pig, and I didn't see it, but I saw a photo somewhere. Did it have the Canva logo on the side?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it did. And then there was also roast turkey, and then there was a vegetarian pasta dish. And then we had 3 or 4 side dishes, including mashed sweet potatoes, another kind of pasta salad, and another bean salad. We chose things that were a little out of the ordinary, just to make it a little more special, I think.
Okay. All right.
Well, excellent.
On a side note,
Yeah.
On a side note, if I don't, I know this is way off topic, but I'd sure love to get a look at one of those Rokon setups someday, and hopefully before the snow flies. Not that we're in a position down here in Madison to buy one, but our checkbook balance is just never high enough for that, which is why this discussion here is pertinent. But we've got winter coming on, and we've got a growing fat bike population down here, and I look forward to coming up to Canva this year, and maybe I could get a special or see one of those Rokons in action somewhere.
Well, I'm sure that's entirely possible. As it so happens, the guy who owns the barn is hosting a special fat bike event to raise some additional funds just for the winter scene, and at the barn, and he's also developed a pull behind grooming attachment for the Rokon. So I'm sure he loves to talk about that. He'd be real happy to give you a demo.
All right.
Yeah, that's November 14th if you were interested in attending. I don't know how they would find that info though, Ron. Maybe you. Is it Facebook or?
Yeah, it's kind of a long address, and I don't have it right in front of me now. But...
Called Fat Bike in the Barn.
You could check out the Canva Facebook page, and there's a post on it from yesterday.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'll see. We've got a group coming up for the Fat Tire Berkey, which is in March, so it's late in the season, which wouldn't necessarily be bad for us. We're not going to have money to buy a Rokon this year anyway, so I guess I could always wait till then as well. So.
Well, let me close this up, but I'm just wanted to kind of go off topic too with one quick question on. When I was up there last weekend, I read about this and I read about it elsewhere. But the nighttime hunting, how's Canva's positioning the trails and hunting? I don't know if they're probably allowed in that area, but I know that the Indians are now allowed to hunt. At night. So is any night riding or anything like that going on? How are you guys handling that?
I don't really think that's going to be any big issue. If you look at the specs on what has to be done in order to be able to hunt at night, it's very, very restrictive, and it's unlikely that there ever would be anything. I can't rule it out, but
sure.
I just don't foresee it being a significant issue around the trails. But
yeah,
that's my sense of it.
Yeah, and I ride down here during the day when they're hunting, and I have never felt in danger or anything, and I've never heard of anybody being in danger. So I guess I
mean, we
feel the same way.
Once the main deer gun season comes around, in the third week of November, we do discourage people from being out there. At that point in time, of course, it's a much higher concentration. So
Yep.
it's just wise to not be there, wear blaze orange, or be carrying a high-powered rifle.
Right. Well, Allison and Ron, thank you so much for your time. It just, to me, this just says everybody on the team, everybody in the club, doesn't have to be a trail builder. They can do other things like what Allison picked up here and just took the ball and ran with. So thank you for the wonderful work you guys are doing, the example that you're setting.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, get up here and ride the trails.
All right, happy trails, everyone. Until next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.